What's up, guys? Max here, back with another episode of the ScuttleButt Show. I'm going to introduce my guests today. We've got Rob Sweetman and Dr. Gaurav Mishra. Rob, if you can start us off really quick and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what we're doing here today, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Max. I was a civilian at almost 30. I joined the SEAL teams, did 8 years, got out and found a passion for sleep. And for the last 4 years, I've absolutely dug into sleep science and sleep technology, and we've built some pretty cool stuff. So just wanted to share some of that with the audience today, and also give everybody, some tips on sleep that they can apply today.
Awesome. So. And Dr. Mishra, if you can introduce yourself real quick.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Max. I'm Dr. Mishra. I'm a psychiatrist. I work with both adults and children. I work and practice in San Diego, where I oversee sort of mental health services for an organization, and I'm also an advisor and friend at Exist Tech.
Awesome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, and I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here, all the members of the channel and the people who are always here, and then people who are new here. The ScuttleButt Show is about all military veteran news. We have veteran guests on like we have today, and we do a daily live show Sunday through Thursday, 1800 Pacific Standard Time. So welcome, everybody. And Rob, you were just on a show last month, and we're trying to make this like a monthly thing, and we gave away some prizes, and it was fantastic. We had a lot of fun. It was totally awesome. So what are we talking about today? What's been happening with the company?
Well, I just wanted to share with you this thing we've been building, the Yoga Sleep Node. It's like a sleep companion. It goes on the wall in your bedroom and it helps you sleep. We're almost done with that. And we've had some challenges, with supply chain logistics, getting parts for whatever reason this year. It's been really challenging to get those parts. But we're razor close. We're in testing right now. And the product's really cool because, and by the way, we built this from the science. We didn't build a widget to sell on Amazon. We looked at the science. We said, what is the science telling us? And then we found, and Dr. Mishra has been on this journey with us. He can tell you some of the challenges, but we found the individual components that were the highest quality, that met those scientific requirements. And we put it all together in one package. So basically what we're doing is simulating a sunset. So we put the right spectrum of light into your bedroom at nighttime. There's zero blue light. It's safer for the eyes. And then we have another light that resets your circadian rhythm in the morning, the full spectrum light. And then we have audio tracks that we have streaming, guided meditation, breathing exercises, white noise, nature sounds. It's the total package. And so our goal here is to get this out to as many people as possible to begin helping them with their sleep.
And yeah, Dr. Mishra, Rob mentioned you might have something to add there about the development of the product, the getting the parts and all that, sourcing the parts. Do you have anything you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just taking a step back, I just want to say that people who have not heard this before, that I and Rob met in business school, and I was there as a psychiatrist. He was there as a Navy SEAL. So it was very different backgrounds. But when we started talking about what we are passionate about and what's common, it was so obvious that his passion was obviously working on sleep science and getting that better for a lot of people, having struggled with it himself, and also seeing a lot of his colleagues in the military struggle with that. And what I found as a psychiatrist is this is what I'm working with all of my patients every single day in my clinic, and I thought that the commonalities were very significant. And then a lot of the recommendations that I was providing to my patients, if we talk about sort of habit forming and lifestyle changes, were exactly what sort of Robert was focusing on. So when we start talking about that, the idea sort of evolved from that. So I've seen this idea now for the last 3 years, and I know Robert has been sort of consistently working at it. So it's really exciting that we're so close to having that product in hand. I've ordered mine already, and I'm hoping to be the first few to try it myself. But I think it's a no-brainer that if I just come at it from a physician, I see that it's positive sleep, improved sleep has an impact on everybody's health in general, but also significant impact in all different kinds of mental illness, and that's irrespective of age. So I think any device that, and this device especially, which can help somebody get there better, it more easily, and then consistently stay there, I think it's going to be really great. So I'm excited about the next steps.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm excited for you guys. It's so cool to see it. I mean, I feel like I've been along for the ride from the beginning too, because I've been following along since this was an idea in Rob's head, and talking about it, and all the wild ideas that he had at work and everything were always awesome to hear about. And that you just really quick, in case anybody doesn't know, because we've had you on the show, Rob, you've been on the show maybe 5 times, 6 times now. And we've talked about the history of the company and the beginning of the company, but Exist kind of was born out of your mission to help people get better sleep after loss of a teammate from the SEAL teams. Is there anything you can add really quick, just for the not to minimize it, but just for people? I know a lot of people have heard it before, are very familiar with the story, but maybe somebody out there isn't. So what is the brief kind of explanation of where this company came from?
Yeah. So as my military career was coming to an end, my buddy took his life. So this was a suicide. Everybody was, scratching their head as to what happened, why him. My buddy Ryan Larkin never even saw the age of 30, and it shouldn't have happened. He was a fantastic SEAL, better than I was. Sniper, medic, just kind of a dream team guy. And so I thought, if that can happen to him, then am I next? I mean, how did this whole thing happen? And so when I just looked deeply into, what happened before, what led up to his situation, my best estimation of the whole thing was that he wasn't sleeping, and he just began to spiral. Part of that was Ambien, part of that was alcohol, part of that was energy drinks in the morning. But the point is, he wasn't getting the sleep. I was there, I saw it, and things just started to unravel. Now, there's a lot of other, comorbid factors, TBI, PTS. But what I saw was somebody that was extremely underslept and lost his mind. That was my experience. And so I began to unpack that, and I looked at, well, is this an isolated event, or is this something that's happening across the board in the SEAL teams? And it turned out it's not an isolated event, and people have terrible sleep in the SEAL teams. We did surveys after I got out. It's like 98% of the guys are struggling. So then I looked at the military in general, and it turns out the RAND report shows just how terrible the sleep is. And if you're not getting adequate sleep, which is, at least 7 hours, some military folks be lucky if they got 5 hours, your body starts to break down. There's all kinds of problems, psychological problems. Dr. Mishra can talk more about that, physiological problems, recovery problems. And then guys are ending up with serious health conditions, and they don't know why. And then what's worse is they have this, what we call it, I took this word from Naval Postgraduate School, is circadian scarring. And so circadian scarring is kind of like, well, I've been doing this for so long, sleep depriving, that it must be fine, right? I'm fine, right? And they continue that behavior into their civilian life as they transition out of the military, or they lead a 20-year career and just end up in a terrible state. So anyways, I became very passionate about this. And as I transitioned out of the military, I think a lot of our veterans in the audience can probably relate to this. I needed to find a purpose. I needed to find a new mission, and something, that I could get behind, not, going out to make $1 million, or nothing self-serving. It had to be something where I could serve others, just like we all intended to do when we joined the military. And so I thought the best way to do that was to build sleep solutions so I could maybe save people like Ryan. So we started with a sleep pod, which I'd love to talk about if you want. It's super cool. It's really going to disrupt sleep science. We've been working on it the whole time for like 4 years now, still working on it. But then about a year ago, we decided to kind of change gears and work on something smaller, a little bit less expensive, and something we can get in the hands of people soon. And now here we are. The products and testing is pretty much finished. The science is pretty basic. and now we're going to kick off a 6-week program. It's a challenge, and with that, we're going to do a pilot study. We're going to analyze the results. We're going to publish those results. So it's finally really getting exciting. So
that's great.
Yeah, I like to add a little bit to that. I think, having worked, I've been a psychiatrist and been in the, mental health field as a professional in about 11 years now. And right from my training in the VA in Detroit and even now working in San Diego, I have a lot of veterans and active duty military members who are my patients, and also the population in general. Sleep is such a cornerstone of, your health. We find that even if you start somebody who's never had sort of depression, anxiety, or any other sort of mental illness, and you put them in a sleep deprived state, they would eventually get to a place that they definitely have anxiety, they have difficulty performance in their everyday activities, and they have even mood becoming unstable. And when you start focusing on sleep as a way to improve somebody's mental well-being, their health, overall physical and mental health, there's such a large impact that, stories like the story of Ryan, which Robert told us about, is a really sad story, but there are so many such stories. And, as a clinician, as people who are trying to help with this, the goal is trying to get to as many people and early, right? Get to them as early as possible, try to help them make that intervention about improving their sleep, improving their sort of overall, sleep cycle and habits, so that it can have such a long-term impact on their lives. So I think that's the goal here, and there's definitely science that shows all of these interventions that sort of put together in the device can have a huge impact. Yeah.
I was wondering, Dr. Mishra, you're a psychiatrist, and you said you worked at the VA doing training, or was that for were you in training at the VA? Residency?
Yeah, I was a psychiatry resident at the VA in Detroit for about 3 years. I did both inpatient, outpatient psychiatry. Here in San Diego, even today I have several patients who are veterans and who are in active duty currently, and their family members. And again, sleep is always the cornerstone of that treatment, because most of them do have sleep disruption, which is just comes with being part of that sort of work environment, I think.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we just had a story yesterday that we talked about on the show, people might remember, of an Air Force colonel who was berating his troops because they canceled a training mission, because they failed their ORM checks, which is the operational risk management checks, because they were too fatigued after a schedule change. No one in the crew had slept, and they canceled the mission for that, and they ended up getting basically what you would call an ass chewing. They were told how disappointed their commander was for, waving off on this mission for safety. That's what people are up against in the military is, they tell you on one hand, it's absolutely, safety is number one. Losing lives in training is not worth it. We need to mitigate every risk possible. And then that same person the next day will be like, are you guys freaking kidding me? You canceled a mission because of safety. What's wrong with you? Are you cowards? Your country would be ashamed of you. And it can be probably traumatizing to somebody when they have to make a similar decision in the future again. Do you see a lot of veterans who are, is it just that always on mentality that makes veterans have difficulty sleeping? Is that it? This idea that anything could happen at any minute?
Yeah, I think depending on the experience, I think definitely we see that veterans who've sort of been in active duty settings, right, and where they have had traumatic experiences, whether they have PTSD or they don't have the full-blown sort of spectrum of PTSD, there's definitely, you need to be on high alert, high alert, and that sort of is their base state, whereas that really doesn't translate really well to any sort of life back in the States, or even if you, it requires you to be, so you do not need to be that quick to sort of get activated or awake here. So, so I think that is a difficult transition. Definitely, if you talk about the PTSD, somebody struggling from PTSD, again, the difficulty with sleep and nightmares is a core sort of feature of that, illness, and it does require those things to get corrected so that people with PTSD can then, have normal sleep and then have the normal daytime, right? For you to have an okay experience during the rest of your day, you need to have great sleep. So, it's so common to see that, and it is sometimes difficult. And I would just say, I was never in the military, so I don't have that experience, but I would say, as somebody who was in my 20s, I didn't care about my sleep as much, and we're not taught to do that. But I think people have to actively be educated that it is key. And as you said, that exercise was canceled, and it was appropriate because people need to think about it. Even when I'm not actively doing something, actively resting or actively sleeping is part of me doing well the next day. So that's an important message, I think.
Sure. Rob, so when I was at work one day at the last command that I was at in the Navy, we had a SEAL who was our deputy OIC, and he comes in one day and he goes, there is no-go criteria for a SEAL. There's no such thing, there is no-go criteria. So there's like literally nothing that a SEAL would cancel a mission for. This is his words. And obviously there's some stuff like air goes red, you can't do your mission. Winds are too high, you can't do a jump, something like that. But this kind of attitude, like we're going no matter what. Is that pretty accurate as far as the attitude of in the SEAL community or spec ops community?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And I mean, that's why SEALs are who they are, because they always get the job done and they do the shittiest job, right? But that takes a toll. So, I mean, there's a range between, what's healthy and losing your life, and somewhere in the middle is where we'll go to accomplish the mission. And so, do we take it too far sometimes? I think so. But this command that shut down the mission because of fatigue, I mean, my hats are off to them, because Dr. John Cordell, retired captain, as a Navy fleet captain, I think he's in the audience tonight, is always talking about fatigue. This has been something that is, an issue in the Navy, the surface Navy, for a long time. And they do these 5 and dimes, and they're super tired, and they come back. And Dr. Cordell was able to get, with Naval Postgraduate School, was able to get a 24-hour, it's a circadian watch cycle, passed as an instruction after the 2 collisions in 2017 where those kids lost their lives. And people say that it's better. Now they're on a circadian watch schedule. Now they're getting the rest that they need. And we're consistently looking at fatigue, because, yeah, sure, you can push yourself to do the mission. But when it comes down to it, when fatigue starts to set in, if you've been up for 20 hours, somewhere in that range, it's the equivalent cognitive performance of being inebriated, like beyond the legal limit with alcohol. And you're tasked with, at night on nods, pointing your weapon at, a potential target and making a rapid decision. And we know that with more sleep deprivation, you start to lose your ability to read facial expressions. It's more difficult to determine whether this person's a threat or not. Obviously, if they have a weapon, that's a tango, right? But in that split-second decision where you take someone's life or not, are you well slept? And the answer is, we can be better slept, I think, most of the time. So fatigue management should go into the entire ORM. It should go into your operational readiness. It should be a factor in whether or not you should execute the mission. And that's my perspective. So,
have you guys had a chance to speak with military leaders about this? Have you guys had an ability to bring these ideas to the? I know, Rob, you have a little bit, but if you can talk about it, maybe expand on it a little bit. How you have, or maybe would in the future, try to bring some of these ideas to the fleet as far as readiness goes?
Yeah, we're working on that. We submitted, I think, 6 proposals to the military, and most of them came back with, hey, you need to be a little bit further along in the technology development, and so forth and so on. It's a really tough barrier to entry in terms of, bringing technology into the military. I know you know that, Max.
Yeah.
But just in terms of talking, we're absolutely talking at every level that we can. John Cordell and I have talked to ASNI in DC and in San Diego. We talk about the topic of fatigue. We talk about the conditions on ship racks. I think there's a way to build a better ship rack. We already have a design laid out to throw our technology in there and help sailors get better rest during a protected sleep period. But we'll see. We'll see if if they want to put up the money to pay for that stuff. That's the challenge. I think one good entry point at a larger level might be aviators, because I'm pretty sure that it strictly says in the instruction how much time you have to sleep before you go on a flight. And it's probably because the jets are like $2 billion or however much they are. But if we can lean on their instruction and say, hey, this is what right looks like. Getting rest is important so you can function. Our most important weapon in the military is our people. So we need to treat it like that.
Yeah. So here's a question, and maybe Dr. Mishra, maybe you can confirm this one way or the other. I've heard, there's kind of a almost an ego thing going on where maybe in the military we're like 24 hours. Who gets tired after 24 hours? What are you, a baby? You need to be, swaddled, and you need to suck on your thumb or something like that. Like, that's nothing. But what is the limit, like, where there is no person walking around who is okay after blank? Kind of like, oh, I can drink 30 beers. That doesn't affect me like it affects other people. But that's not true, right? So what is the point where, like, literally nobody is being honest if they say they are okay after they've been awake? Maybe you fill in the blank there. 24 hours, 48 hours. Because people will try to be tough about it. Oh, I can drive all night. I'm good. I do this all the time. But there's got to be some point where, like, it just doesn't exist.
So I think it depends on what your baseline is, I would say. So if you're somebody who's consistently getting maybe even 6 hours of sleep every night, right, and you're pretty good about it, and then a couple nights or one night you got to stay up all night, I think you're a lot better in a state to handle that sort of lack of sleep in that moment, and then sort of carry on functioning fairly okay. But a lot of people, what we see is sort of they have patterns of poor sleep. And this is not just one night they're up late and then waking up early for work or whatever else. And then so they have their in this sort of poor pattern of insufficient sleep for days, weeks, months, years. People have bad sleep patterns for a long time. And I think that's where the trouble with decision making and how good am I functioning. I think, we can say that I'm feeling great, right? That's okay, because you can use Red Bull, which is not necessarily the best, or a lot of coffee and sort of get by for a few hours. But if you really think about it, you're not going to be able to function sustainably, in a great way without sufficient sleep. Actually, if you miss sleep even one night, your sort of body takes almost a week to sort of catch up from even that one night's good sleep. It takes time to sort of recover from that. And essentially, there's no real recovery because you're not sleeping 14 hours the next day. Most people are not, so there's no way to really recover from that. So I think it's just remembering every night that, sleep is key. And if you do that, then, next day and the next day after that, it's going to be consistently better, is sort of the only way to go. It's, and that's what we recommend. I think for a lot of our patients, we see that once they start feeling a little bit better, they get a little bit off track again. But you have to have this, you have to have your mom's voice has to be your internal voice now, saying that get to bed because I need to function. And also, in the military, your responsibility and consequences of an action gone not perfectly is huge, right? In that setting, it could be really large for yourself and people around you. So I think it becomes even more important that everybody there is functioning at the optimal level, which, we've all seen. No coffee can do the trick that a good night's sleep can do. There are days you wake up and feel like, oh my God, this is amazing. I feel so good already. You've not even had a cup of coffee yet. And, those days tell you what sleep can do.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. It's funny to have this whole conversation. I mean, we have to acknowledge also that there's times where getting a good night's sleep is not possible, especially for the military. And we shouldn't pretend like, if your base is getting attacked, that it's okay to go to sleep or something like that. Like, of course it's not, right? It's not possible. But awareness of the effects of sleep deprivation is probably equally as important as, it's probably more important to make somebody aware of what they might be experiencing when they're sleep deprived as it is to tell them how important it is to get a good night's sleep. But what's funny is you're a medical doctor, famously sleep deprived through residency, through training, through med school. It's so wild how, these bad habits or bad practices, or what we know as risky practices, invade even in the medical community. Did you experience that in residency too? Like, how can there be a combination of such an hyper awareness of the problem and willingness to go along with it?
We had 30-hour shifts, and I would start at 8 a.m. in the morning. I'd be in clinic till 5 p.m. 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. next morning, I was in the hospital all night. I remember 4 a.m. some nights. I've been up since 6 a.m. the previous day, and 4 a.m. the next day. I can't, I feel like I can't see clearly at this point. I feel like I need to take at least an hour nap. But I know, there was a tragic situation where one of our residents actually sort of died driving on the way home just because they were so sleep deprived. They met an accident. So our hospital started providing sort of cab tickets, or cab, vouchers for people. It is really a difficult, because obviously, your decision making after, even as a physician, after 24 hours, what is your decision making like? It's probably not the best it can be. Actually, studies have shown the longer your day is, even as a physician, your decision changes towards the end of the day. You're not making as great decisions as you are. So I went through that, and at that time when it was the days were shortened for the next class, we laughed at them that they're not tough enough, but it was not the case. We were young and stupid too, so we thought. But I think it's important. Sleep is really so key that definitely in the medical field also it really impacts.
Yeah, I don't know, Rob. What do you think about that? Obviously I'm sure you've done plenty of stints of long periods of being awake in training in buds. Obviously there's Hell Week, right? And then you go on and there's way more of that going on. And one thing that always surprised, just really a quick note, one thing that always surprised me about doing training with Naval Special Warfare is how much time people spent on PowerPoints. Like, people would be doing training, and then in between the actual, exercises, the kinetic part, all night working on PowerPoints, putting in arrows, embedding photos, and you just go these long periods without sleep. Did you ever witness any kind of fatigue mishaps while you were in maybe after buds, actually in the SEAL teams?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I was just a sack of shit if I didn't get sleep, especially out at an island. Tons of mistakes. And I can't remember what the saying was, but I think if you give a JO, 1 day or 1 night from the warning order, or 1 week, the presentation is the same. Just after the 1 week, you're going to have animations added. So there's this, if anybody in the crowd remembers what that saying is. So in terms of the SEAL teams, I remember going through the buds training, and we started on Sunday night, and we have breakout, and I was so stupid. I had no idea what we were about to do. I was up playing poker the night before with my brother, and just coking and joking. All I'd seen is the class 224, I think it was, on YouTube. I was like, how hard can it be? I didn't really take it, I guess, as seriously as I should have. And then I found out that night, it's like, wait, we get 0 sleep. So I guess I'm an idiot. But so after breakout on Sunday, you make it all the way to Monday morning. Your circadian rhythm is already off. You feel weird. But then after the sunlight comes up and resets your circadian rhythm, your body starts, you have a spike in cortisol. So you almost forget about the fact that you didn't get any sleep the night before. And then you push on through the hot day. And then I think it gets very sad and depressing when you're sitting on top of the hill and you're like, goodbye, Mr. Sun. The instructor always makes you say goodbye to the sun. And then it gets dark again, and you're cold and you're sandy and all that mess. And it's just depressing. I think that's when most guys quit, the realization that they're gonna have to go through the entire night. But then the guys that don't quit.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, that was awkward.
Okay.
That was my fault. Go ahead. Go on.
So the guys that don't quit after Monday night make it to Tuesday morning. I think that is, if I recall, that's the highest percentage of dropouts in that period. And so if you make it to Tuesday at lunch, you're good. Meaning if you're insane enough to go that far, then you're insane enough to just keep going. But there's so many stages of, you get to the point where you feel like you're lucid, and then you're confused, and then you have hallucinations. And then you get into the third, fourth, fifth day. I think it's 5.5 days total. You're just completely out of your mind. And I've never had a chance to work a hell week as an instructor, but I talked to some of the guys that were instructors that that do that. And yeah, I mean, they just say that the guys are just zombies. I mean, they're absolutely zombies. I remember just forcing one leg in front of the other continuously for just hours and hours, because you're basically just doing PT the whole time. There's not a whole lot of complex problem solving that goes on in Hell Week. But I think what happens after that, I guess we've proven ourselves. That becomes I guess that makes it okay to sleep deprive on missions and stuff like that. So, and I'm not sure, maybe Dr. Mishra, you can explain it better, but at some point, my psyche, like once I've reached that level, that depth of just like this, maybe it's that hypnagogic state, right? Between wakefulness and sleep. Once you've reached that depth of within my own psyche, it's almost like you're curious to go back there again. And it's unlikely that I'll ever be able to, but we have this sort of hubris that we'll be able to do it again. And maybe we'll reach, it's fine. I can do 24 hours without sleep. I can do a couple of days without sleep, but it's not fine. It's not okay. That was under a controlled environment with doctors and staff. And so if you try to operate heavy machinery or a gun or anything like that, it's just ridiculous. Like, absolutely not. The only answer is, just like you go to CrossFit, or just like you eat your nutrition, just like you do any of your things that you're disciplined with, you have to be disciplined with your sleep. I mean, all of your gains are while you're sleeping. So my only hope is that people do take sleeping more seriously. We have some solutions. If you want me to talk about the yoga sleep mode node a little bit more in depth, I can.
Can we? So I think that would be a great transition, actually. Thanks for sharing that about the sleep deprivation Hell Week. I think a lot of people probably found that interesting. I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear a lot more about that, maybe on another time. But somebody in the chat was asking, how do you pre-order it? Can you travel with it? There were some questions going around. The Yoga Sleep Node, which, by the way, congratulations if Justin's out there in the chat on winning yours. I'm sure you'll get that winning the raffle last time. We'll be getting that. I'm sure they'll be getting that out to you when it's ready, as soon as it's ready. Tell us about the product, because it is available for pre-order, right? You can pre-order it now. Is it still available for the initial order discount?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to keep it discounted. It's almost at cost until we do the launch. So all of our people that are supporting us, we're going to hook them up. And by the way, if any of my friends are on right now, make sure and click subscribe on the ScuttleButt Show, because I've just really enjoyed this show ever since its inception. And it's gone from, like, when you started, Max, it's like, boom, now you're already at 5,000. I think you're going to hit 10,000 this year. Really cool content, especially if you're a veteran.
Thank you very much.
So for the yoga sleep node, we're almost done. We hope that we would be done in June, but this is the way it goes. So we're almost done. If anybody wants to go check it out and pre-order, they can do it at www.yogasleepnode.com. If you want to check out our organization, that's existtribe.com. Exist Tribe, that came from Existential Technologies. I remember back in the day trying to say that 10 times fast. It's like, we have to shorten this. But Exist Tribe is all about educating and helping and getting, pushing sleep to the next level. But in terms of the yoga sleep node, there's three main things that we're focused on. And we kind of go back to the science. One of them is consistency. And so with this yoga sleep node as a sleep companion, it totally automates your routine. So you're going to go to the app and you set what time you want to wake up, and then it gives you the adequate amount of time to get sleep. And then it kicks on the amber light, and it kicks on the sound, and that becomes a trigger. As you use the device over time, you're like, oh, it's time for bed. And I can hear Dr. Mishra right now talking about in one of his podcasts, parents don't like to be talked about, like to be told to go to bed. That's something we do for children. But the truth is, we kind of have to get to that point. So the yoga sleep node automates a lot of that. I can go more in depth on that if you want. The second thing is we need to reduce interruptions. We've seen that through EEG and EKG measurements, we can see spikes in sound, like noise pollution, like car alarms outside, that can disrupt your sleep. We can measure it. And when your sleep's disrupted, then you don't get efficient sleep, and you may not be able to have the same level of recovery. The three ones that we focus on are light, sound, and temperature within those interruptions, and the yoga sleep node helps control all of those. And then that last thing is the transition. I think the transition is one of the most important things. And what I mean by that is, from waking to sleep, there has to be a transition of state. And so we have several techniques to do that in the 6-2R challenge. It's a 6-week program. We go over 6 different ways to do that. That transition of state is absolutely critical, because if you go to bed with anxiety, or you're worried about work, you could have higher levels of noradrenaline, also called norepinephrine. All that is the cousin to adrenaline, right? So you can see that in the blood work, and if that's in the brain, sometimes you see more nightmares, but definitely more unease in sleep. And what we're trying to do is have a good transition from awake to sleep, so that you have good sleep and then you wake up. So consistency, reducing those interruptions, and a good transition. Those are the 3 things that we're focused on, and that's what the yoga sleep node helps us with.
Dr. Mishra, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the 3 points he touched on, so commonly when we're talking to patients and people who are struggling with sleep, I think that transition is really the key piece, where people feel like they can go out partying or do or work really late, things like that, and then suddenly fall asleep right away. I think that is a misconception. It takes a little bit of transition, and whatever that may be for you, people pray, you take a shower, read a book, whatever that may be, sort of the calming exercise is really important, so that sort of your mind really gets to a state that you are not it's not just going, really fast, and you have hundreds of thoughts that you're trying to sort of calm down. Because if you keep thinking that way, it's difficult to definitely calm down and fall asleep. So I think this transition piece is really key. And I think obviously interruptions, all of us are guilty of having the phone in our hands when we're trying to fall asleep, and it's difficult to get rid of that. But it is again a key. It's an important factor in keeping us awake and keeping us making it harder for us to fall asleep. So I think I think these transitions and these this way to sort of ritualize it almost, which the device really helps with, is going to make a difference for people, because I think it takes away from having to sort of will it every night, versus you have sort of a device or an app that really sort of guides you a little bit. And if you follow that, you slowly get into the habit of using it, and your sleep will be more consistent.
When do you guys think when are these shipping, you think? Any estimates? Hey, sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I don't want to quote it yet, but we plan to go to Indiegogo and do a big campaign. So everybody that pre-orders with us will get the best deal, and then we'll incrementally raise it on Indiegogo. And then once we go to the public and we're at retail, then of course it'll be full price, and we'll have the thing fully stood up. So we're hoping to finish that the next couple of months and start shipping. Some of the parts are taking a little while, the components on the inside, but we are in testing now, and it's very exciting. I mean, having these meetings with engineers, it's like, finally, this thing is coming together. So if you want, I can show you an image and kind of describe a little bit about what we're doing in the science.
Yeah, let's do it. That we had to troubleshoot for everyone watching. By the way, real quick, while Rob sets that up, I want to thank MC for a $4.99 super chat. Thank you. I want to thank everyone who subscribed and checked out this video. All the links to Exist Tribe and to all of my links for the ScuttleButt Show are in the description of this video if you guys want to check that out. Yeah, we had to troubleshoot the screen sharing thing and my inability to navigate Zoom was showing through before the show started. So good thing we jumped on early and figured that out. So yeah, if you want to grab the screen, share it, project whatever you're looking at, we're ready to go over here. Everyone will see it. And then you can tell us about whatever you want. And I had your website pulled up earlier, and I was showing the homepage when we were talking about the product. So people have seen it a little bit, at least from the home landing page of the website.
Nice. Okay, well, I'll just, let's see here.
I know you had maybe a animation or something. You had that JO animation ready to go.
Yeah, let me, okay, there it goes. All right, so can you see the yoga sleep node here?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so I just wanted to describe it to you guys. So the night light is simulating dusk. So this is a special light. This is the only US OLED manufacturer. This is a single substrate. It's extremely high performance. It's an industrial grade light. It's certified for no risk to the cornea or skin. This is the safest light in the world for your eyes at night. And we've built it into this whole thing. So this is an amber light. Like I said, it simulates dusk. And why this is important is because there's zero blue. There's zero blue in this light as tested in a laboratory. And so what happens when we're watching a sunset, the slower particles, which here, let me switch to this one. Here's the visible light spectrum. And I don't want to get too sciencey on you guys, but we can't see infrared, we can't see ultraviolet. So within here is the visible light spectrum. And the slowest from 400 to 550 nanometers approximately is the blue light. So that light, when we're watching the dusk, it gets blocked by particles. And what we end up seeing is more of a red light, more of an amber, orange. And that's what our bodies and our brains have been used to for 1 million years. It's, encoded in our DNA. And what that does is it helps regulate our cortisol and melatonin levels. So these are relatively reciprocal. And so at nighttime, what we want is some melatonin to start being produced in the brain. And the way that we do that is by getting the proper transition of light into our eyes. And then, of course, in the morning, we wake up and we have a spike in cortisol, and that reduces as the day goes on. So this light has zero blue light in it. And to kind of describe a little bit more about how blue light affects your eyes at night, I created a little animation for you guys.
Awesome.
So I'll go ahead and play it. Let me know what you think.
I'm really proud of you, by the way.
So this is somebody on their tablet at nighttime. Now we have a cross section. This is what happens. The blue light exposed to your eye, it creates more of a reaction than any of the other light, and it stimulates the optic nerve, and it goes to something called the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, and that is the body clock. It controls that melatonin production. And so if you have exposure to blue light at night, that melatonin production can be delayed. And then if it's delayed, you're going to have a harder time going to sleep. And it doesn't just affect you that first night, it affects you, that becomes the standard. Now, every single night after that, you have to readjust in order to get your melatonin circadian rhythm back on cycle. Circa and dia, circadian rhythm, just meaning daily. It's your daily rhythm. So that's the nightlight. That's super important to the science behind what we're doing. So this can be, this is part of the entire process. It can stay on at night as a nightlight, or it can go completely black. And then this morning light, this is, I would argue, equally as important. I just listened to a podcast on Tim Ferriss today with a doctor up at Stanford that was talking about the volumes of sunlight that needs to get into your eyes. So this is a full spectrum light. It does have blue light in it. We know that for the same reason your retina gets excited by the light, that this light introduced to the eye in the morning, we know that's when the circadian rhythm resets. Circadian rhythm meaning daily. And by the way, and you guys can start asking questions in the chat and we can answer them. But basically, humans are on a 24-hour cycle because of the earth, because of the sun. That's our greatest indicator. And we have a connection with the earth. And if we, for example, they did studies, I think, dating back as far as like 1954, where if you stay in a cave, they did a couple scientists in a cave, and they've done this several times since. every human being has a different endogenous cycle, right? So every day is different naturally for each human being. So it might be 28 hours for one person. It might be 22 hours for another person. The average we know now is 24 and a half hours for all humans. So if the average is 24 and a half, how is it that we, stay healthy on a 24-hour day? And that's because we get reset every morning with that first morning light in the eye. So that's why we have the morning light. It's all about consistency. And then the acoustic sound. Next time I'll have a cutaway for you, but we built this like a Bose wave. We did the physics to be able to achieve phantom acoustics. So there's a speaker box built into this thing that is absolutely mathematically figured. And there's a little port down here. And so the sound is really incredible. And so this is, I'll stop sharing. This is a smart device. It connects to your home. It's your sleep companion. It also has the ability to integrate with other stuff in your house. We can integrate with, your Withings sleep mat to be able to give you sleep measurements. Thomas, I think he's in the crowd. We're talking about using a micro EEG headband and integrating with them. We can integrate with Nest to control the thermostat. So there's really sort of unlimited possibilities with this. We have a good offering right out of the box. But once we start adding in the guided meditation, the live content from yoga experts, from meditation experts, breathing experts, we're trying to get Josh Dunce. If you're in the crowd tonight, we're hoping to get you on. All of that stuff is possible. And so hopefully, like I said, we're going to have this thing out to market in the next couple of months. But this is going to make an impact. No more pills. No more of the drug companies telling us what to do. And this is just the healthiest solution. So I'll stop there.
I think it looks so. Dr. Misha, I'll give you a chance to add anything you want to add there. But yeah, I think that I've never been a fan of prescribed medications. You can get those pretty easily, especially in the military, especially Ambien. It's ridiculous. And I've tried a couple times, and I always try to get off of them as quickly as possible because I just would rather not have my mental state being affected by something. Maybe I'm paranoid, but I always feel like I'm never quite myself if you're taking some kind of prescription medication to affect your mindset or whatever, your sleep, whatever it is. But I just want to say that product looks awesome. Great job on the design there. Congratulations on getting it to the point that it is now. It looks incredible. And Dr. Misha, is there anything you want to add about the development or the function of that thing that Rob just covered?
Yeah, so I'm a clinician, so I'm not a fan of medication, but I do prescribe them at times, and obviously I see a whole spectrum of patients presenting with different levels of severity of insomnia or different illnesses. But I would say that the one thing that's most common for everybody is we always do try the habit forming techniques first, because those are the most impactful techniques for everybody, and even if somebody needs medication briefly, again, I'm not a pill pusher, that's not my role clinically, but essentially if somebody does need it briefly, the discussion is always that, let's do this short term so that you can actually work on building that good sleep habit for the long term, which I do not want to be prescribing that medication to you long term, neither do you need to be taking it long term. So I think the discussion is always habit forming, and that's where this device really comes in, because that is almost the hardest part of the change, because we can easily pop a pill, it's so easy, but reminding yourself to be good about going to bed at the right time, having the right surroundings, and avoiding distractions or the phone with you, things like that, those are the harder decisions. It's easier to pop a pill. So I think a lot of people sort of try to do that and think that that's the solution. So we discussed that is not really the solution. If you're not sleeping well, you need to have a bedtime. You need to have a ritual sort of trying to go to bed. You need to have the right surroundings so that you feel like you're in a calm state to go to bed, and not not very excited, not very hyper state that you cannot fall asleep. So I think this really helps that habit changing, which is the hardest part for all of us, to really sort of try to make it more easy to make that habit change and follow. It's very hard for me to go for a run, but when I have an instructor, I work out. So that's the way I work. I think this is something similar that way, I think, for anybody struggling with sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be, well, I'm looking forward to getting one in my room. I think I am all about, I'm a big fan of the tech solution. I love that. Any tech, any way I can incorporate tech to make my life better. I'm always a big fan of that. So I'm definitely excited about getting this thing going in my room. I'm definitely ruining my life with looking at these screens at night. I don't know if you guys can touch on this. I'm putting you on the spot again. If you don't know about this, totally fine. We didn't cover this pre-show or anything like that. What about those like blue light glasses? Do you guys know it? Maybe Dr. Mishra knows about that. Is that something that you could benefit from using if you stare at a screen a lot? If you're a big computer user, or you work at a computer, does that have any impact here?
I don't really know a lot about it, but I do know that it does impact you. So I'm guessing it would help. But I'm in front of a screen a lot, but maybe I'll get one too. So, I'm not sure. I've not used one yet.
Okay.
Well, I think, Dr. Mishra, I just read an article. So just to clarify, I think there's two different types of glasses. One is the blue blockers, right? Like Dave Asprey sells some of those, the True Dark or something like that. And yeah, absolutely, you need to wear, if you can, and you're going to be on your devices late at night, wear those blue blocking glasses, because that's going to filter out that light wave that excites the retina and causes the melatonin disruption. But then there's also another type of glasses. I was just reading another article about where they're using blue light throughout the day to stimulate the retina. And that's important because, the whole thing is we're supposed to be connected to the earth. And by the way, I don't want anybody to ever think that we're trying to sell a one-stop shop solution. There is no such thing. The Yoga Sleep Node is our best effort to make something to help people. But the real answer is to get a better connection with earth and to get sunlight throughout the day, exercise, stay away from all the devices. But sometimes we don't have an opportunity to get back in nature. Sometimes we're in the city. Sometimes we have tough jobs, especially if you're a shift worker. This is a solution. This is a solution to kind of hit the easy button and help you get back on track in a healthy way. But the other article that I read just recently about the blue light, they have blue light glasses that they're testing. So folks that don't get enough sunlight, they're on shift work, they're exposing their eyes to blue light throughout the day, because we know that that process, there's this diurnal process, right? Like the sun comes up in the day. And back when we were hunters and gatherers, for a million years or whatever, we got that sunlight exposure. And so our brains knew, the eyes are directly connected to the brain, but they're one of the only things that are external to the brain, right? And so they're these sensors, and our brains know what time of day it is for a number of different reasons. But one of them is the eyes are saying, hey, it's daylight. So now fast forward to the age of technology, and here we are in laboratories or in our workshops, our cubicles, and the lighting is terrible. We're not getting that blue light exposure or full spectrum from the sunlight. And then at nighttime, our bodies are all confused. And then what do? We just stick a phone in our face and just continue this confusion in our brain. And of course, our hormones are jacked up. Of course, we have a hard time going to bed. And then layer onto that all the things that Dr. Mishra can teach us about psychology and about how, the things that we're thinking about and how that affects us. It's tough. I mean, and that's why we built this, because this is our best effort to help people. So.
Yeah. I just want to add something about the shift work. So many people now work in jobs that they have to work overnight. I know many physicians who do that, and so I think it is definitely a kind of a lifestyle that a lot of people are leading. So I think even in those situations, typically our recommendations are even if you have to work at night, which is not usual for humans, but you have to. Maybe trying to sort of have that same sort of ritualize and schedule for sleep during the day. And I think because the device sort of mimics your sort of natural, dusk and dawn, I think there's a way to sort of replicate that during the day also. I think it definitely could help with, shift work and, irregular sleep cycles.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. We talked about shift work the last time that we did this too. I remember it's because it's a big part of the military as well. Obviously, shifts, 12-hour shifts, 24-hour shifts. shifts that just don't make any sense, 30-hour shifts, like you were saying, Dr. Mishra, that you were on in residency. And on a future episode, I would love to talk also about dreams. If we maybe when we come back and do this next month, talk about dreams, because we'll have this conversation again. And it's exciting to follow all the updates with the product too. That's really cool. Actually, quick question for you, Dr. Mishra, is this the first product you've ever been a part of developing and bringing to market?
Yes. So, I was part of briefly, sort of a digital product on about mental health treatment for kids. And I was part of that. And that is sort of my startup. We sort of have, that's sort of on a back burner, but this is the first product I've been part of. Yeah.
Awesome. Rob, this is your first, right? I think, but I highly doubt it'll be your last. I mean, I guess you have the sleep pod too. But other than that, have you been, is that correct? Is this your first product as well?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we built a bunch of stuff in the Navy, but that was all, circuit boards and nothing like this, because building a prototype is relatively easy. But then when you get into how do we build this at scale, like 10,000 a month, that kind of thing, you run into a ton of problems. How do you manufacture? And that's why we have such a solid team. We handpicked these folks, Terry and Ben, I think were on the call last time. I mean, they're really leaders in the field of technology and engineering and supply chain logistics and all that stuff. So I did promise everybody that I'd give a couple of recommendations on light, sound, and temperature. Do you want me to plug that real quick?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Let me, I'll share screen one more time.
Do it.
And throw that up. So for everybody listening, just a couple of quick recommendations that you can use today. You want to stop using those electronic devices 1 hour before bed. If you can, use blackout curtains. That is, if you have light outside your window. A face mask is always a really good solution to cut out the light. And then you can also get a zero blue light for the bedroom, which is what we're working on. But if you can't get anything like that, try to use dimmer bulbs, like lower light volume in the bedroom. In terms of sound, you want to turn off all the noisy items because, sounds with decibel peaks as low as 35, but definitely at like that 55 decibel range, which we're talking at 60 decibels right now. That can actually impact your sleep function. Try to close those windows from city noise if possible. White noise machine buffers some of those noises, so that's a good idea. Earplugs is always a good thing, and you can travel with those. I know Amanda was asking about traveling. And then you want to keep it cool in the bedroom. I know Deep Sleepwear is on the chat right now. They have some lightweight sleepwear that's breathable. That helps out with cooling off the body. You have to cool off the body. You can use your thermostat, which is another thing we've integrated with, but you can just set your regular thermostat a little cooler at night. You can also try a bed jet or a chili pad. Those are pretty good products to keep you cool at night. And then sometimes people like to take a lukewarm shower, not too hot, not too cold, but then that helps you reduce that little bit of temperature you need to drop while you're sleeping.
Those are great recommendations.
Yeah.
Thank you for. I didn't even know you had those ready to go. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to check out those, the bed jet. What is that?
Yeah. Bed jet cools you off. It pulls air from under the bed and shoots it under your sheets. We actually sleep with one of those. But Tara Youngblood runs a company called, I think it's called Cryo, but they sell the chili pad. And now I think the new version is called the Uller. Really cool. I'm in total agreement with that technology, because you need to be able, if you're too hot at nighttime, your body's working really hard for homeostasis to be able to cool the body, which is part of the natural routine of your sleep. So yeah, I'm supportive of those products. And actually we'd like to integrate with them too in the future. So
awesome. Yeah. I like to sleep in a nice, cool, chilled room is the best. I love that. That definitely gets me a better night's sleep. Obviously, heat is not good at all. Like in Iraq was a little too hot for me, a little on the hot side.
It was a beach vacation.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, it's 11 a.m. out here in Okinawa, which means the show has been on for 1 hour, and I want to thank everybody who's been watching, and we'll get ready to kind of wrap it up and have some final thoughts for this episode. Is there anything that we didn't get to yet that you want to get to, Rob or Dr. Mishra?
Nope. Appreciate everybody's support.
Dr. Mishra?
Yeah, I think this is a discussion that I think hopefully people have with themselves and their family. I think there was a couple questions about Indiegogo, but I think the product is still already available for pre-order on the website. So I think they don't even have to wait for that launch, actually.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yogasleepnode.com.
Yogasleepnode.com. Linked, the Exist Tribe website is linked in the description of this video. So if you guys are interested, you can head to that website and you can find the links out there, find information about the product, and get your pre-order in at the best price it'll ever be, right? Is if you order it off your website.
Totally. Yeah.
At the best price
Absolutely.
it'll ever be. And we will have you guys back on next month. We'll find a date. We'll pick a date. We'll have some more interesting sleep topics. And if you guys have any questions out there in the audience that you would like to see brought up on the next episode, please send them to me. You can comment on this video. You can send them to me at thescuttlebuttshow@gmail.com. Or where's the best way to reach out to you guys?
Rob@existtribe.com.
Great.
Yeah, awesome. Are we going to talk about lucid dreaming next time?
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to.
Man.
Yep. I would love to talk
we can
about
do it.
lucid dreams, which I have had. I always remember my dreams. I have very vivid dreams, and I've had lucid dreams, and we can talk all about that. So if you guys want to prep in the audience out there for if you have any questions about dreaming or anything like that, maybe we can find some other guests too that we can bring on to talk about it, and we'll just have a really fun episode about sleep and like different things that happen while you're sleeping.
Awesome.
Maybe lucid dreaming, sleepwalking, sleep paralysis, astral projection. I mean, the CIA tried it. There's all kinds of stuff going on out there. So we can have a fun episode about that. That'll be great. And yeah, I guess, so really quick before we sign out, is there anything else you guys want to say, shout outs, points of contact, plug the product one more time?
Just thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been awesome. I think the chat has been very active, and I try to chime in a little bit there. So yeah, definitely go to the website, check it out, and I think the support is great. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one last thing, we are doing the 6-2R program, the 6-2R challenge soon. And we just opened up an application on there because we're going to start out with studies, academic studies that will publish the results. Won't publish anybody's name, just the overall results. But we just opened that up. I was hesitant to mention it, but if for our loyal followers, if anybody wants to go to the existtribe.com website, there is a page on there called 6-2R, and the application is live if you want to get some of that. So
really quick, thank you for sharing that. Really quick, one comment here from 2T Adventures that maybe we can address really fast, or you can direct them to the right place. Is there a return policy is the question. So if you pre-order now, is there somewhere on the website that can list kind of expectations and considerations for people who are about to buy one?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you go to the website, this is it right here, yogasleepnode.com. You scroll down, fall asleep 10 times faster. Bam. What is that? 90 days and 1 year. That's the best deal that anyone's putting out on sleep technology right now. I'll tell you that.
Got it. Oh, great. Awesome. All right. Thanks for sharing that. That answers that. So that covers that. Cool. Well, then in that case, with all that being said, I appreciate everyone in the audience so much. If you're new here, make sure you obliterate the subscribe button so that you don't miss more content like this. All the ways to support the channel are linked in the description down below. All the ways to find Exist Tribe are linked in the description down below as well. I appreciate the audience tuning in, having great questions and interactions with us. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the people over at Exist, I'm sure. And with all that being said, until next time, that's the Scuttlebutt.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.